We've got another guest in our broadcast area, and we're joined by the lovely Jayne Headley. Good afternoon, Jayne.
Hello.
Now, Jayne, is that a Welsh accent I hear?
Yes, very much.
Now, tell us about your involvement with the South Wales Miners Support Group in the 1980s.
Well, I was involved as a 16-year-old, just finishing my GCSEs. My mother was Headon, and she was played by Imelda Staunton in the Pride. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, I don't know. Have you seen Pride, Teresa? Paul, you've seen Pride, haven't you?
You've got to see it, Teresa. You'll love it.
Oh yeah, no, we'll have to have a Pride evening round Mine Eyes. Every time Karen comes, every time Karen comes round for dinner, we watch it. And I have to say, and is your mother really like Imelda Staunton's character?
She actually played her really well. Yeah, she did do really well.
Okay, and so tell us what it was like then back in those days. What was your involvement? What sort of things did you do?
Well, I came along just before the LGSM became involved. That's the Lesbians, Gay Sport, the Miners group, and they started coming down to see us, and because I was 16 and they were young as well, it was an opportunity to go up to London, go to gay bars. I'd never seen anything like it in my entire life, you know.
Fantastic. Do you know what? I mean, it's true to say that Ben and I are obsessed with the film.
Okay.
But that is because it's such, to us, it's such a positive, inspirational story. How did it feel at the time? Did you ever realise it would become as big as it did?
Absolutely not, but I will tell you that it was a story that I never stopped telling.
Yeah.
And people didn't believe me.
No,
and I remember once I was in a book group years ago, and we didn't talk about the books because lots of people don't. And we sat down one night and I told them the story, and they couldn't believe that we didn't have any food in the 80s, we didn't have any money, and you know that life was really difficult and poverty was setting in. And when the film came out, I sent them all a message and said, hey, do you remember that story I told you? Go watch it on the screen now. They were like, wow.
Okay, so tell me then, when you first went to London, what was your first impressions? Obviously coming from kind of what I guess at the time was very sort of quite austere and very bleak. What was the contrast like? What was London like?
London was just buzzing. It was people everywhere, and into the gay community as well straight away. And we went to the Pits and Perverts event first, the one that's in the film.
Yeah.
And then the second time I went up as a 16-year-old, got dragged into Headon, where Bronski were playing. Well, it was Jimmy Somerville as a communards then, and going in the toilet and just gay people everywhere. For me, it was absolutely shocking. But obviously, like I said on the stage earlier, I'm now a lesbian myself, and it's taken me 30 years to come out. But I think that's obviously had something to do with it, that, you know, I thought back then that it gave me the power to think that actually I will do this now, you know. And
as a film then, Pride, how accurate a representation is that of what happened? Obviously, you know, things get kind of dramatised and sensationalised, but how accurate was the film?
There's bits and pieces in the film that are not true, but overall the majority of the film is pretty much spot on, really. We didn't have in the film there's a little animosity in the valley, and that wasn't really there. We didn't have a terrible person like Maureen.
No.
She didn't exist, and you know they didn't vote them out and that kind of thing. But for dramatisation, that obviously makes a good film.
Of course it does. You have this bit of artistic licence going on, isn't there?
Yeah, but we did turn up to the Gay Pride in London in '85, and it was like it was. All the miners turned up. Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Well, Jayne, it is absolutely lovely to speak to you. But before you go.